Well, and by the way, I apologize, I missed that executive session. I guess I missed a doozy.
You did.
All right,
Yeah,
we
there was a lot.
are recording, so we're.
You weren't invited, it was only these two.
No,
No, another executive session.
Yeah, you missed.
Oh, I
that
wasn't
too.
invited.
Yeah, you were invited.
I missed it.
It was about the,
Okay, let's call the meeting of the Munster Board of Parks and Rec to order for September 21. First item on our agenda is public input. I assume nobody's emailed.
No emails, and no one here in
Okay,
attendance.
seeing no one in the
Well, we have
audience,
one.
other than our liaison,
He's our liaison.
right? Town board liaison.
I'm not very public. Yeah, very public, there you go.
Any input? Hearing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting and move on to the administrative matters.
Mr. President, can I ask, just make sure, move that microphone close to you, just without Janice here, when she does the minutes, it'll help.
All right.
If you guys any want to speak,
Okay.
make sure so we can hear it better. Thank you.
Sure. So on administrative matters, first are the minutes from our last meeting. Anybody have any issues with them? I looked at them.
I'll move to approve the meeting.
Second it all. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Vouchers, there are two.
There's no questions, so I would move to approve.
I'll second it.
Moved and approved, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right.
Okay.
Mark, your parks.
Yes, I'm gonna expedite through this, just a few things. At our meeting a month ago, I had presented you guys a resolution about some part-time wage rate increase impact, and you would ask me what that impact is, so I wanted to give you a update on that. It's difficult to put that together because we're looking at increasing the amount of staff in some of those positions as to what we put in for the budget for next year, but also to anticipate the wage rate increases that we identified in that previous resolution that we tabled. So I'm going to tell you that it's about $100,000 more for all of those increased positions. Although maybe a better way to look at it is probably closer to 75 when we add additional bodies, like at the pool. We're going to add a couple more stations of a lifeguard is going to be in a first aid station that we haven't had before. We're going to add the attendant outside the gate that we haven't had before. We want to make sure that we always have at least a manager and assistant manager, so two adults there. So that's why it's somewhere in that range, $75,000 to $100,000 would be the impact if we did decide to approve that resolution. So just wanted to give you that heads up. Bond issue, the town is working on that, a GO bond for this year, and so we won't be doing a separate park bond. Our items will be included within that. Staffing, one of our park maintainer twos will be retiring as of October 1st. Don't want to say her name, but Garner, who that will be, who's leaving Kevin's crew there. So we currently are down 2 people in his crew. So we had another one turn us down when they actually had accepted when they gave their notice at their other employer. All of a sudden they got a big jump in pay and they said, sorry, I'm not coming over. So he is looking through right now and reviewing, and hopefully has another one on the hook to get somebody else in here really soon. Porta potty quotes were mailed out. We're going to talk about that in the agenda here. Jill took care of that for us. We had 2 responses. One of the rec supervisors, we received a USTA Grow the Game grant for our tennis program of $2,500 that we'll be using next year. Fall soccer is up and underway. We got 422 kids registered this fall, so our numbers are pretty back to where they used to be pre-COVID. So that's good to see. On the park maintenance side of things, we did after the pool closed, we were able to get some pool repairs out there. We had a flange inside the mechanical room that had to be drilled out and swapped out. So Kevin was able to get that done with Ron on our staff. So that was a big repair inside that was continually leaking all summer long. But we were able to wait till the season closed to get that repaired. We also did get all the items in the zero depth area of the pool repainted. One's the little slide there and the buckets that dump, the posts and all that stuff, we got repainted here in the last week or so. So we were able to get some of those improvements done. The batting cages out at Community Park all needed various repairs. That recently finally got done, as well as the fencing at the accessible gate entrance at Frank Hammond. We did the asphalt to get to the tennis courts, but the gate was about this wide. It now has a wider one on it, so to meet accessibility, to meet the ADA requirements for getting into that facility. We did some renovations to the soccer field area at Beach Park. Big West Wings this fall has pulled out of there to allow us to get in there and do that. They'll be back in spring, but we did have some dirt to fill some of the low wear spots, and we seeded that area out there as well. Out at Centennial, we had 3 irrigation leaks on 4-inch lines, so good sized lines. Irrigation leaks are not easy, but that was something that the guys were able to repair. The Genbacher generator has been down since the 1st of September. A coolant fitting broke. We're waiting for that replacement part to get here so we can get that back online. And then over at the golf course, I will say in the report, we accidentally typed in a $ sign, total rounds of golf in that table. Shouldn't have a $, sign there. Those are actual number counts. 14,143 this year is total rounds. Last year at this time, we were at 15,909. So we're slightly down in total rounds, but our revenue is up, and that's mainly because we're getting more green fees individual paying than member uses of rounds. So that's really the big difference there. But so far right now, you look down to that bottom line, the total revenue at 864,000 through the month of August. That's up 65% in comparison since last year. So definitely doing pretty good right there right now. Hopefully things stay the same.
Would that be our best year?
I would think.
This
so.
will be the best year ever, and I met with Andrew earlier today, and there's a good chance that if things stay like this and we close out the year like this, this will be the first year that they can actually cut us the difference of the check back to the town.
Good.
So that would be, we're on par for that right now. So, and just, I had asked for this figure as we've had some other meetings going on, but deposits taken for 2022 events total about $44,000 and change there. So just a figure that I want you all to be aware of. And that's for all future events as of today, where how many things are on the books already for the future. So with that, if you have any questions, I can answer them, or we can move on.
Yeah.
Sorry to return it more. Nobody has any questions, and let's go to the items for discussion. First item, I could probably say something related, but I won't. It's the porta potty proposals for 2022 through 2024.
Jill sent these out for quotes. We sent them to the 5 companies that she indicated there. Only 2 came back and responded. The last 3-year term here was through Service Sanitation. They did come in a little bit higher. We had a better pricing from this Premier Porta Potty, who has kind of been around recently. They've started to kind of show a little bit. And in fact, the subdivision we're talking about, or we're going to talk about next year in the meeting, one of the houses out there has one in their yard, constructed house right now. So from that Premier company, they are around. They came in cheaper across the board. So the recommendation from Jill is to award it to Premier Porta Potty for the next 3-year term for our regular park use, and then also when we have special events and so forth, or call out for additional services.
Well, we're locked in to the same. They're not going to.
We're locked into that pricing for the next 3-year period. Yes. Yes.
All right. So do we need a motion to accept the recommendation?
That would be our request. Yes, please.
I can make that motion.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. The next item is community resources phase 2 park donation.
I gave you a summary. So this is, you have an email or a letter memo from Tom Vanderwood as the planning department. So this is something that is before the planning commission. They're coming in to develop phase 2 out at Community State subdivision there. So I think everyone knows where this is, but just in case you're not, this is that former Nike missile base Sawyer plumbing property. west of Columbia Avenue, slightly south of, basically south of Park Street Village. In that area is the overall area for the community estate subdivision. There was a phase one. This is phase two only. This is the remaining area that was undeveloped in that area, south of Hartsfield Village, basically all the way down to Main Street. And this is between the rail line and Columbia Avenue. That's the overall area that we're talking about.
And that subdivision doesn't have a park for anything.
Does not have a park currently in there, correct?
And originally it was planned not to have a park, but this overpass into, what's that, Westlake?
Yeah, that's, I know that there was discussion about trying to do that. I don't know who
Is that
would take
approved?
that on. Who
Is
would
that approved?
who would
I mean, that's hard to go
absorb
over
that?
any track.
Right.
Yeah.
And you need it long.
I have to recuse myself from any discussion here because I have a conflict, but my understanding is Nicky has it on their site about some form of pedestrian crossing from West Lakes to this subdivision.
Well, I will say that the station, the train station is on the east side of the tracks. The parking is on the west side. So there will be some kind of connection from where you park your car to get to the station.
So it's
Whether that's a
the
tunnel,
east side will be.
No, the underpasses.
it's an underpass.
So Main
So
Street will go under the tracks as well.
Main Street will go under the tracks, and this area here will be parking for the train. The train station, though, is gonna be on the east side of the tracks. So somehow, people who park their car have to get to the station. So there will be some kind of way to connect from one side. However, I don't think that, I'm not sure if there's any connection from the South Shore development to Westlake. I haven't heard that.
That is not happening.
I don't,
Okay,
yeah.
so even pedestrian,
My understanding from just looking at the Nick D presentations over the time, that parking lot will not have access through West Lakes to get to that parking lot. That was a very bone of contention, that the only access will be off of Main Street to get to that parking.
That's right.
That's,
People who live at the south end of West Lakes, will,
Have to
if
go
they're gonna
all
take
around.
their car, have to go north to 45th, over to Calumet, south to Main Street, and back to where they started from almost, and then under the
So-
tracks and park.
So the parking lot will go underneath the tracks to get to
Yeah.
the station.
We'll have two underpasses in Munster. We don't have to pay for the second one.
Okay.
Nick T will be doing that.
where's the other underpass? Oh,
Yeah.
the 45th,
45th,
okay.
And then there'll be additional parking in Dyer, south
So,
of Main Street.
My question though is there some other connection, Dan or Ken or anyone, if you know, from the east side to Westlake?
There'll be a tunnel, but there'll be there'll be a pedestrian way to get over there
From,
from the parking lot.
right, but I'm saying from the rest of the subdivision
Oh,
to get to Westlake subdivision. So potentially, people in community estates we could say, hey, you have a park in Westlake that you could walk to, that there's a pedestrian route to get you all the way there too.
yeah, I see.
I haven't
Um,
seen the plans, but it's my understanding that there is an overpass that goes in. I don't know how they're gonna build that with as much density as you have in West Lakes.
Right.
Because any overpass takes a lot.
Right.
and
Yes, we have
the
that.
slope, but like I said, I'll preface it by saying I haven't seen the plan, but people have told me that there was one.
Can we have that clarified?
I don't have it. I won't speak on
Well,
behalf of
I would
Nikki
suggest
or
that could
anybody
be
else.
part of a recommendation is if there was if there was a pedestrian route to allow residents of community estates subdivision to use the parks in the Westlake subdivision, that would suffice, right? I mean, if there's a pedestrian route to get there.
I know
Not
there's a
the
bicycle
route
route.
of go down Columbia all the way to 45th and then back down Marble.
Yeah, you can't do that.
So,
So,
They are assuming that a lot of people in that part of West Lakes and maybe community estates will take a bike in good weather and just ride the short distance to the parking lot. They're gonna put in bicycle parking areas. And there can't be an overpass over the track. You can have an underpass, but the trains require such overhead that an overpass for pedestrians would be too steep. and too high,
Yeah.
but there will be underpasses.
But also, as you look at this, and I think the only, as Dan was talking about, the only landing spot on the west side of the rail line would either be in West Lakes Park, because these are all platted lots. So you're all the way up here by, which is Superior Avenue
Yeah.
coming in there, or you're all the way down by the train, because this is solid parcel after parcel along here until you get down to this area here of the South Shore. So, but that would be a consideration though. And that's one that we just don't know the answer to at this point. I mean, as far as my perspective, I mean, there's nothing on our, that I'm aware of that we're doing anything about that.
They thought a park was gonna be on this, east side ever.
Well, so there's an ordinance in the town that any new subdivision is supposed to provide parkland.
Right.
So, and the one that I'll refresh your mind with the most is what with Castlewood,
North.
the one
On
just
Castle,
east of
it's
Beach,
Castle Drive.
a couple blocks.
It's
So
your
that
town is
one,
new subdivision.
they're building now.
Yeah.
and that one, you said, hey, there's a park 2 blocks away, Beach Park.
Right.
We don't need another park here. And we took the cash in lieu of land. And there's an equation to formulate that value.
So they're looking for a waiver of some type?
Well, they're looking for a recommendation. They're looking for the park board, who is the advocates for parks, for recreation in the community, to say, hey, what do you guys think? And I think that based upon the layout that you have, which in the hard copy there, I gave you.
But the plan commission, I read what you had here. Is the plan commission encouraging a park on that side?
I think it would be nice to. but
I
just don't know.
would just say that I would never pass up the opportunity to get land for any kind of
Parks
or
or
green
space.
However,
Yeah.
we have to be, and maybe we can think a little bit more creatively with this kind of space as not being the standard park. There are recommendations in the town to do community gardens. There's, there's lots of uses, I think, that you can come up with to use that kind of space. The problem is just going to be accessibility. So
But you,
that would be,
can you access it from the pond area and back with a trail?
My understanding.
I guess I'm not
you can't
understanding.
Really, my understanding, if Mark, can you blow that up? a little?
Yeah.
Yeah, where there's water and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, right now we have zero access to that, right?
So
The landowners,
the only thing would be Columbia Avenue, really.
Columbia Avenue, you actually have right where that entrance is. That's that old drive right there is, that's the park. That would come in to this drive.
So we
That
could
opening is that right there.
easily Do, what did you call it? Park right off the street.
can you have a cutoff, a lane to come into there and turn?
And then have a little parking.
Yeah, instead of to making a sharp right there.
But,
you have something
as
that-
far as a park for like playground equipment, no, but use of the park for other things, like I said, for community gardens or any other type of
Maintenance,
thing that we could come up with, it would be,
But I don't know if you should make that sharp right there off the clump, don't you think we'd have a turn lane or something?
it's not a, that's a 35-mile-an-hour limit.
Yeah,
I don't know, I go down there, you're going faster
Well,
than
I
35.
shouldn't admit to speeding.
You said big.
It's a 35-mile-an-hour zone. I don't think that's, you have that same problem with,
It's a diagram too.
Sunnyside, any of the parks that are off of busy street, you're gonna have that same issue. So I don't know that would be
Redmond's
a concern.
busy too.
I just think that we would have to have some sort of pull-off parking, diagonal parking or something like that along a section of that. And then we have to think of something to use that park for that's accessible off Columbia, and because we're not gonna get access to any other part of that section.
But for the residents, they can
Walk around.
walk around the pond and.
They would, so if you
Yeah.
lived right here, you would
Yeah.
basically have to go up the street or sidewalk here, sidewalk to that corner. At this point, this existing home has sidewalk on the frontage of this public road, but they don't have a sidewalk on the private road. So that would have to be added to get you access to that point, if, assuming this parcel also eventually gets added to this discussion. Because it says park area on this, which is funny, but it's still owned by Community Resources. We believe that that was probably just never dedicated to the town as part of their phase
That would
one.
make it a
park
lot
area.
easier
Yeah, that would.
if they
But
would.
Sidewalk, that one sidewalk.
Well, but, so when they did phase one, I mean, there is a phase one that's been approved.
Well, that's the problem. No one can find any record of what phase one park land from this subdivision ever came, or if they took money in lieu of. I haven't been able to find any records of that, and
Neither
neither.
come before this board.
Well, and it would have been a recommendation again. I mean, officially it's decided at the planning commission. Yeah. The really strange thing is on this parcel map, you click this one and it comes up as owned already by the town. Which is,
Well, that's all.
this little goofy section is part of what they're proposing as part of the park land for this phase two right now. So I think that might just be a mistake, to be
I
honest.
think Rob is right, that they have to have some access or night, whatever,
Yeah,
to get there with that sidewalk.
And I agree with you, if we're really ultimately looking at, we want a park that's a traditional park with a playground and so forth.
How about like Mike's idea, different guards, you could walk, a walk path or something around there.
But this also,
Maybe not playground, you know.
but it also could just be a public natural area.
And that would
Let
be
it
a
grow
nice
with
view
prairie.
from Columbia, that would be a nice look.
The benches there, you get the gazebo, lots of different things in different uses.
Right. But we have to, the people in that section's gotta get there. That
I
sidewalk.
mean, that's what it's for.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the reason to take that property is to benefit the subdivision.
Right.
If they can't get there, then
Right.
that's defeating the whole purpose, so.
so what if, down by the little tiny pond? Is there a sidewalk?
Well, keep in mind, Robin, this is the new subdivision, the whole subdivision with all the parcels. The last page of your packet, look at that, how that layout. So you'll see Andrew come in and then a cul-de-sac.
Oh, okay.
So that's all this. The park is really only from this point across. And then it's really this section north, that part north. So, yeah, if they added a sidewalk along Columbia Avenue behind the fence to get to it for all the way out to that street, sure, okay, that's fine if the parcel allows for it there. I'm not sure if there's a sidewalk over there yet either, but I think the recommendation though is pedestrian access. That's what we're asking for. I mean, okay, fine, we can do that. We have lots of parks, as Mike mentioned earlier, Sunnyside on a busy street, Stewart on a busy street, Frank Hammond on a busy street, Orchards on a relatively community park. I mean, we have them on busy streets. And honestly, what I would actually ask is maybe they would even put the fence up that's already along there and can close that entrance. I mean, if we just need to get access, as long as we have pedestrian access, we can get a mower somehow back there if we have to mow
Right.
grass back there. So whether we're parking on the private street or bringing it in some other direction, you know, that's really, obviously, if there's pedestrians getting there, we should be able to get there with any of our maintenance equipment, pickup truck, if we gotta go in there and.
You should make it a private for that subdivision?
Well, no, it's not private.
Accessible.
No, accessible.
Yeah, they don't want people parking on their street.
Yeah, but you're talking about using a private street, that's not even a town street.
Well, I'm saying that for us temporarily, if we're gonna park there on mowing it or whatever else. If we have to, we can park a pickup truck over here and drive the mower down the sidewalk or down the street to get into there. I mean, if we had to. I mean, I think that's the perspective of what we have there. I think adding the cutout parking spaces, I think on this size of a property, I wouldn't do it. I mean, because it's meant to be for that subdivision and really is, I mean, you may get someone driving there if there's a unique playground or that's where the swings are or that if we happen to see it, let's pull over and, you know, put the grandson in there and give him a push. But realistically, if there's not parking, where are people gonna park there? I mean,
On the street.
I mean, Columbia too, major.
Well, I think you're always going to want some level of parking because
I think we're encouraging them, trying to become more of a walkable outdoor society and trying to discourage parking. Because now you're encouraging vehicle.
Now, I can't remember, what's north of there? What?
Hartsfield
on the other side
Village.
of that private park,
This is,
private drive,
That's what the road is for, right? The private road.
here's Hartsfield Village.
so that ties into Hartsfield.
Yes.
It'd be nice to tie that into Hartsfield.
Yeah, then they can get out. Meander.
Right.
So that's the private road coming
We
in.
don't want to.
Here's the pond. Here's the park, what would be the parkland is that.
From the street.
And that road right there is private road.
And that's a private road, because I guess Hartsfield Village is a few, that sound right, or is that- I think,
I don't know.
It could be, I don't know. I think
Not-
it's-
Do you think they would, if we would, it would.
Something else.
Sidewalk there, it's already a
But
useless
it was
side.
private,
It's not
planned
like
unit
it-
development.
it's-
I don't know
it's
if it is or
option.
not.
Planned unit
I
development?
can't.
Unless they use development, the
I don't know.
Hartsfield, they would have to own.
Well, we'd have to
They
pay
would
it.
have to own a portion of it, and they don't. Hartsfield Village is its own entity, and they rent.
Oh, so
space.
it's private from that.
Because it
development
benefits
side.
them.
However, they allow the connection from community estates to that road.
Right? So when you,
Yeah, it's the same company.
yeah. So, and otherwise that subdivision would have had only one way in and out, which is probably something the town.
Community resources, community hospital.
So
Giant.
I think that maybe we have to give Mark some questions, some maybe clarification.
Well,
What do you guys think?
let me make a few more points here, just for thought for you.
Okay.
I agree with what Mike said earlier about if we don't accept land now,
Yeah.
never gonna get land out there. I mean,
I agree.
now I know it can be crummy land, and I think the environmental question is a valid one that Dave brought up. I'm assuming that that's taken care of, but probably worthwhile asking that. Technically, what they're required for this, how many lots? Eight lots? 12 lot subdivision is they're only technically supposed to give us 0.204 acres. At that point, 2/10 of an acre.
It's
Who
not,
wants it?
yeah.
I mean, so if we go to the money in lieu of, we're only gonna get 2/10 worth of money, you know, that whatever the per price per acre is. So it's gonna become nominal. I think the figure at Castlewood was 30,000 an acre, so 2/10 of 30,000.
But wouldn't that
Oh,
enhance the value, like you should enhance the value of the homes there, we can have something nice there or something.
Always.
Market,
Yeah.
I mean, no, that's.
And then you get more
Instead of
tax revenue and it
it's land.
enhances the whole
Yeah,
community.
I would just want to confirm that there's some kind of sidewalk access somewhere from inside the subdivision in there, and I would still say that do need some sort of parking in there, because, I mean, believe it or not, people do like to drive to other parts of the town to take advantage of different park, they might have different amenities that they like, you know, if we put something like a nice, you know, garden with sitting areas, the benches, whatever, someone might want to go there and just relax. I know people that I work with at the bank, the people that will just drive to a park and sit and eat their lunch. There's a lot of people that do that. Yeah, I mean, I've done that. He falls asleep.
I didn't know. I passed out. What are you talking about?
Most PD would.
He waits for the VIP honk. Yeah, anyway.
Mine's on the right track, don't you think? I don't know.
Well,
And Robin, I thought.
I think, I'm kind of hearing a somewhat of a agreement that we want land. I think that this area needs a land. So that there's one step. Pedestrian access is a second requirement. I'm throwing on there that I would ask the developer to grade it, so, because it's kind of this goofy
Oh, is it?
out there, and it's gonna hold water, and if it rains,
Right.
you know,
Oh, yeah.
regrade, and, you know, so at least drains and, you know, give us a decent flatter area.
Yeah,
there.
plot to do.
I would
some
also say any of those, on that other, you can see some of the scrub trees that are out there. I'd ask them to get rid of some, I mean, the big mature guys, yeah, keep, but some of this underbrush, you know,
There's no plans to widen that. It is what it is, right?
Yeah, it is what it is for now.
I think that'll always be that.
Well, the access to get into that subdivision is that road right there.
Uh-huh.
No, there's another one
two,
further
there's one
down.
here, there's one on the south side.
And that's a public street. The other
Yeah.
one?
The only, that's a.
You have
private
here
street
and then
there,
this one
there's
here.
a public street right
Okay.
there.
What's the name of that?
Donna Drive.
Donna?
And just as a reference, here's the
Yes.
Strachan
That's
or
a nice look.
Land
I
of
mean, I think
Frost
that
corporate
just in
headquarters.
general, my comment is, I think it's a good idea to add sidewalks anyway. That's a town thing. And, I mean, that should be a standard.
Yeah.
But, because there is no sidewalks on Columbia, and if you're gonna have people biking to the train or anywhere, that really needs to be put on the agenda.
Are there bike lanes
In
on
general, I
Columbia?
mean, if you're gonna be biking, if we're gonna have a park there, or you're gonna have a train station, people are gonna wanna.
They may want to take
access.
their bike, like from my subdivision, they would take the bike.
Yeah.
The winter.
Oh, yeah. We all go high.
See, that is my subdivision.
So what are we saying? We need some more information?
Well, they're asking for it. This is supposed to go to the planning commission at their October 12th meeting.
I would say, yeah, give us the land, but give us access.
I mean, I can put it together, summarize your conversation here as the recommendation from the board, or I can prepare it for you for your next meeting, which is October 5th, which is still before their meeting. You guys can review it, and then we can send, if you say it's good, we can send it out.
What's your thought as a?
I think I agree with a lot of what you're saying here. I mean, I think it was identified in your master plan. The worst things about this land is the proximity to the busy street.
Yeah.
And when you really, if we could clean this whole area out with a paintbrush, give me the park in the middle of it, which services the whole area. Obviously, that hasn't happened. You know, but there's also gonna be other green spaces in the subdivision, just so you're aware, over time, because
The NICD bought all these parcels because they needed it for the South Shore. Well, they only need so much of it, but then supposedly they're supposed to be buffering on the rest of it.
Up against that road?
Up against that road. Yeah, so there'll be some green space out there that'll, well, it's NICD's to be owned and maintained. That'll be curious what happens there. I do think that there's somewhat of a natural corridor there, just on a different note, to parallel the train line, to maybe even go all the way up towards into the area of like by Three Floyds back there, and then that connects to there's a trail on Superior that would be able to get a good route in, and as Mike said, get it down towards the train station, because I think that's something that, you're gonna want to look for people to have walking and bike riding lanes to get towards.
They're building like crazy up there.
Yeah, they
I
are.
saw that.
It is.
You said they're selling them like hot dogs.
They are.
Well, if we don't have to, we don't have to decide until we can put it off next meeting. You can put it in writing, we can look at it.
Yeah.
See it.
I just have a question, and it's not anything, but does planning commission have a set time period that they need to have their items on their agenda
Right.
for?
Right.
Because if you're saying the meeting's on, you said the 12th,
Theirs is the 12th and ours is the 5th. And
so
our
that's
next
7
meeting is-
days. I don't know what usually packets, we usually
Yeah.
give people 5 days.
That's tight.
I'm just saying, just for
Yeah, that's tight.
timeline purposes.
Well, it's already on there. isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm saying as far as like, he draws up your recommendations, he has to get it to their packet unless he can add it to an addendum to their
Yeah.
packet and say, hey, look, this is late, but it's 1 pager, it's a 2 pager. I mean, you can't read it. then
I don't know. if it's for that.
I'll remain silent from this point forward.
I think that they'll take it, again, it's just a recommendation. It's a public hearing that day on that subdivision. So, again, it's just information as, again, the advocates for parks and recreation and community to say, hey, planning commission, here's our thoughts. When we, looking at what was supplied to us, here's our thoughts. But, I think what I'm hearing the most is let me go ahead and draw something up, put it in our next package, just have you guys review it one last time. And if you need to make any edits, I can get it to them. And then, that's.
That corner,
It
really
is-
aesthetic wise, it really.
Be nice, yeah.
pop. Yeah. you could
And
do some
then clarification on
cool plans.
plot that you're not sure about
You
by
could
the
do some
time,
like jungle. Yeah.
what that actually is.
Oh, yeah.
Are you talking
I
about
don't disagree.
this
Yeah.
one?
No, the other one. on
This-
the-
And what
Oh,
we
this
did-
one.
Yeah, right there.
This one.
With that.
Now, the only issue is that what if the people of that subdivision get mad because they want a real playground?
Look,
Then
Well, that's a whole other issue, Mike. What we do with this property is a whole different discussion. I mean, what's a park? It could be left and plant a bunch of trees there and it's a forest.
But I think,
I mean, or it could be a playground.
I think that blue piece that you're showing right there, I mean, we ought to know.
What
whether or
that
not
is.
That's ours.
It- It's,
Yeah.
it's supposed to be deeded to the parks.
Okay, so
Okay.
that's your access
It's
right
gonna
there.
be, it's gonna be deeded. to the
Okay,
parks.
so that's your access right there.
Speaking from
Well,
what I
that's,
see.
well, then why wouldn't they just say
Okay.
that's enough land for
What?
There's that sidewalk along that road.
for their,
Yeah, it wasn't mandated.
I can't say.
Well, you
How much
can,
is that
we'll
land?
put in
That
a
blue-
sidewalk.
How big is that blue part?
Oh, sidewalks from the, oh, I see. So we
This-
have to worry about.
He had to put sidewalk in there. He didn't have to put one in there because that was on a private road.
Okay.
Because this was part of this subdivision.
Well, what if we put a sidewalk
I
in?
can get it. You wanna know how many acres?
Oh, we would have to put a
Yeah,
sidewalk
it's a
on
big
his
piece.
property, or like his, like.
Well, we could tell them to put one in, or we will. Which one would you choose?
Yeah, Rick, doesn't it say it on the park area?
Net acreage. It's got it listed.
It does in the blue, it says park area.
What's it
I
say?
think we measured it, and I want to say initially, the piece they're proposing is about 1.5 acres. If we had, this is about another acre. So it ends up becoming 2.5 acres. And-
0.2.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-oh. What did you do, Dan? Go back to your
You're
seat.
good, you're good, you're good.
Well, I mean, and God love the developer for giving us,
Yeah.
times where we're entitled to, right? I have a feeling that.
Here's the other,
Well,
could be in
the
the,
unusable portion of that.
well, this could be part of this in the recommendation. Now, again, it'll slow down the development, but it could be a recommendation from this board to the planning commission that says, listen, when a developer comes in, refer them and send them to your meeting.
Well, it's.
They should be here and
I
present
kind of
them,
figured somebody.
in my opinion. And then you guys could be saying, hey,
Yeah.
we need this, we need this. You're gonna make that happen or not?
Is it doable?
Yeah. And then they can go back to the drawing board, edit it in, and then say, hey, you good with it? Then we get get your stamp of approval as a recommendation, and then planning commission hopefully says, yep, okay, you got the park board happy with it, then we'll be happy with it.
So we don't know how deep that.
I don't know anything about that. I imagine, I don't know if that's in the town. It is retention. There's water out there. There's 2 swans in it. I can tell you that.
I don't think it's
Swans?
horrendous, yes, I don't think it's horrendously deep, but any bit of water is.
Swans are bottom feeders, so,
Well,
And I'll
swans
say
keep
get 'em
the geese
down there.
away.
Yeah.
Send them over to Wicker.
yeah, send them over.
What?
Yeah.
They keep the geese away.
Oh,
Yeah, they do.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
They're,
that.
oh, big time.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah. Those are your solutions.
Yeah.
Water, swan.
Or those cutouts.
Don't work.
So
Do they
do
work at
people
all?
fish in there?
No,
No,
Dogs?
no,
they
no,
walk
no.
by, the little, just walk by and lift their
Not
legs.
All right, well, I will put together a draft and bring it to you for your next meeting for you to
Okay.
consider at that point.
And our
but yeah,
next meeting is the 5th, and that's it.
dude,
October 5th at
It's in the
seven.
Senate building.
Yes.
that may or may not hold us.
All right, so
Anything else?
that takes care of phase 2. So I guess the next motion is to adjourn.
So moved. I gotta do something.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Are we off the record?
I have to pay attention to that. I drive by there, I don't know how many times.
Yeah. I need to look at it.
If I ever paid attention to that water right in there.
I do remember the water being there.
I just hit the end button.
That ends the recording too.
I think it just turns everything off.
Yes, it ends the meeting.
Make sure we end the-
It's a toilet too cold up there.
Just end the meeting.
Where do you see it?
The red, right there, stop share. And and then end down the bottom.
Thank you.
right there.
There you go.